two-car garage. The lot is 8,555 square feet, and it's a downhill lot. As previously indicated, there is an environmental on file. Staff reviewed the previously approved mitigated neg deck and determined that no additional environmental review was necessary. So going back to the description, I will approach the board to walk you through what the changes are. So in addition to the minor floor plan change to the garage, which are reflected on the revised plans, there are additional changes. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. There are minor changes or floor plan changes to the garage, which are reflected in the revised plans as a result of some changes that occurred during construction. The total revised floor area with the new addition will be 2,497 square feet with the attached two-car garage. The new plans show the garage being at 442 square feet. And some additional modifications noted on the revised plans include some new windows on the staircase facing the street and on the sides and at the rear in the dining room, and a new balcony at the new addition, and the overall height increase at the garage level of approximately 1.5 feet. So let me approach the board at this time and just briefly walk you through those changes that are being proposed. The changes are basically the areas that are clouded. These renderings here, the colored renderings, show what was approved by the board in 2005. And again, the addition of 115 square feet is this area right in here, which is being filled in. So the new elevation drawing, again, is clouded and reflects the change right in that area where they're proposing the addition and the balcony. And again, you can tell the overall height increase. The dimensions are noted on the plans as well. This overall height shows 34.8, and the previous plan showed 33 feet 2 inches. And again, I put up the floor plans for you so you can also note where the areas are that are being modified, including some additional windows and one in the dining room. This again is the floor plan for the garage. They have this door, and then it steps down, and then you have the new area where they're adding the 115 square feet. And in addition to that, we have, like I stated earlier, some minor window that are being, or some windows that are being added at the front at the staircase. And you can probably see this area over here. These show from the north side, the clouded area with the windows, another new window. And again, the windows are proposed to match what was previously approved, which are white vinyl windows. I believe there are also going to be casement windows, which is consistent with some of the windows that were proposed on the design as well. Are there any questions so far regarding the modifications? I think I highlighted everything. And now I'd like to just kind of go back into the report unless there's any requests that I don't, and discuss.
Go ahead. I do have a question.
Okay.
When you look at some of the detailing, especially here in the tower, you know, this little detailing has a little reverse into it. Do you know whether it's following this design, which is a little bit more interesting, or do you know whether it's following this design, which is not as interesting here? So you change it.
I'll have the architect address that, since he'd be more familiar as to what technique he's using.
Okay.
I do know that he has changed, for example, some of the little details that he had here at the front tower, and he added the, in addition to that, if I didn't refer to it earlier, he added the windows here. He changed, well, the garage door was changed at the owner's request. So I kind of put that up so we can also take that into account in your, when you start to deliberate. Yes, correct. And also, there was one minor change, which I don't believe is reflected here, but in this little curb area, they were just going to have the curb here, and then this is just going to have it straight down. So it's going to be more vertical.
Is this what they want to do, or is this what they have done?
I believe that's what they have done.
You don't know?
I don't know at this point.
Okay.
what happened was that there was some, before this project came before you today, there was some dialogue between the property owner coming to to staff, me, the case planner, for some changes over the counter, and then later down the line, and again, that's where this came in, the garage door and this additional little change here, which staff felt was some minor. The door we felt was more of an improvement compared to this door here that was previously being proposed. I believe this was due to structural reasons, but again, I'll have the applicant address that as to why they removed this additional curb and made this straight and this remained still curved. But then, and then later, the other change that came in at subsequent change was this one here. And staff felt that would change the massing compared to what was previously approved, and that's why this project is before you today.
Do we have a drawing of the previous elevation of the same view?
Right here. The colored ones are what we had
Yeah.
before.
Okay.
We don't have colored renderings for today because it's still the same color. Again, this is the main change that is at the rear. The color stays the same. The texture, the stucco, the roof material, it all stays the same compared to as it was previously approved by the board in 2005.
How about the on-site steps going down on elevation north, right?
These,
Yes, that was not on the original design.
well, they didn't show it, but that's there.
You can see it there.
Yeah.
That one doesn't show it.
That would be from
Right there,
here.
you see it on that drawing over there, and then you see it on this north elevation. It's not shown.
They need stairs because it's a downhill lot,
All
so.
this is here, and this right here. Well, you don't necessarily need stairs. There's a code requirement.
Well, that's true.
So-
But if they wanted to access the property
Right, but
from the
the original one did
exterior.
not have that, or doesn't look like it.
So all this is going to
That's correct.
is there.
So the balcony
So
would
there's a
be
balcony,
flush with the lower floor, the floor beneath.
right here to the new.
Correct. And then again, as a result of this new addition, based on my dialogue that I had with the applicant, they needed to increase the height so they could integrate the height of the roof of the new addition with the existing height.
So this is gone then, right?
And this, I believe this has already taken place out in the field, the height increase.
Yeah, so they basically came across here, right?
Right.
But they raised it a little bit, like you said.
It went up a little bit.
So before you mentioned it was still, what's this dimension?
This is 34.8.
To there.
Right.
Oh, so they raised this as well. This one is 33.2.
33.2.
Okay, so it's not bad.
The top of the,
This one actually, this plate height used to
This
be
got
8.
higher, right?
Yeah, this is now 9.
Right, so there's about a foot because 32, right, and then 34.8,
From the lowest to the highest point.
foot 6, right.
So if this is fronting Buckingham, this is what you see from Buckingham Road. The addition won't be viewed if you're actually standing in front of the property, but as you approach the property from the south, it is visible.
You know, if the applicant's going to remove some of the issues blocking that?
They have not referenced that they would be removing. They've actually said that the existing landscaping that was or the landscape that was approved would remain, and no changes. So as far as the mass and the scale, as previously indicated and I alluded to, about as it relates to the height changes, staff believes that the height increase at the garage creates more mass to an already large form, and in addition, the additional height considerably modifies the proportions, particularly at the west elevation. By attaching the roof of the garage with the new addition, it creates one large form, which further increases the massing at the rear. And that's why staff suggests to lower the roof at the addition so that it appears as a separate form, or alternatively maintain the original height of the garage. I don't know at this point if that can be done, because based on what the applicant told me, that is actually built that way, or was built during construction that way.
You're saying your recommendation is to lower the roof?
No,
Which
not
one?
there, but at the garage area over here. Here's the garage. On the other side.
Okay.
So-
The garage actually is on the
Yeah,
other
right.
side.
That is the garage.
I think it's behind there.
Right.
Oh, my mistake, right. So so in other words, the angle can't be changed because it's the same slope angle as this, 3 and
Right.
12.
So
So
you're
lowering
lowering
the plate height from
Yeah,
where it
why
used to be.
can we do that?
Because if you notice here the difference, how it
This
appeared
got
before.
really wide, yeah.
Exactly. And it just appeared more massive, and that's why staff is making that.
Yeah, but if you look at the section, they can't go any forward. They lose their.
As far as the design and the detailing, again, there as you can see, there are no major changes at all. And the new home is designed as a contemporary version of Spanish Mediterranean architecture. The addition is designed to blend with the previously approved design. The roof line at the garage, again, will be extended and integrated with the new roof of the addition. And as previously indicated, the balcony would be flush with the roof, or in this case, the floor beneath it.
Doesn't have to be that.
And on the
9
side.
foot
So that was the old design, but they increased the plate or something.
That's the.
This is the new one? Okay, so they made it 9.
And the last comment that staff had is to work with staff to identify a location for the trash and mechanical equipment, because it wasn't noted in the previous plans that were approved. And that staff is recommending approval of the project with those 2 comments or recommendations. And that concludes my presentation. If you have any further questions, I'm available.
Do you have any questions for staff? Okay.
Oh, and one more thing before I forget. There was an email that I passed around that was submitted by one of the neighbors. They had some concerns regarding the addition and how it was going to be viewed from Buckingham Road. It appears that the addition is not going to be viewed directly facing Buckingham, and again, unless you're approaching the property from the south. So it's not going to be higher than that staircase that currently is there, because it's behind it. And the second comment has to do with construction timing. I don't have an answer for that, but that's why I told the neighbor that I would bring it up here at the meeting so that maybe the applicant or the property owner can address their concerns.
Okay, so we'll make a note that Hugh and Marlene Sheffield, their email is here. Okay, so we'll go to the first card. Mr. Edward Hagobian, if you could state your name.
Good evening,
and address, please.
gentlemen and Chairman. My name is Edward Hagobian. I am the architect and designer of this project, and my address is 220 South Kenwood Street, Suite 210, Glendale, 91205. I have to mention a lot of things here that I am talking fast. This is 2 lots next to each other, and the owner owns that next door lot. But next door lot is not buildable because of the high power lines that are passing on top of it. So that lot will always remain unbuildable. But our calculation of the floor area ratio and lot coverage and things like that is based on just 1 lot. So the owner was telling me that we have such a big lot, why not to add a room that we badly needed that room. They have 2 kids. And that's why we decided to add that room. Now, at the time of the approval of this project, there was a zoning code, correct me if I am wrong, that in any given point, may I approach and show that to you, please?
Sure, please do. The pointer's right there.
At the time of the approval, there was an item in the zoning code that in any given point here, the height cannot be more than 25 feet. And since we have limitation from the street, On the back, we had the oak tree. On the front, we have to have not the 18-foot setback minimum for the garage. So we were sandwiched between here and here, and we couldn't have this garage to kind of tilt back on the third floor. So that is why we built the garage and the lower level on top of each other. Except that on the garage, on the end of the garage, as you can see at that time, the height of the roof at that point was like about 5 feet. So the roof was like this. So we were thinking that the nose of the car can go underneath that, which at that time was accepted and agreed. Later on, when I was talking to the building department, Janet was told me, what happened if the owner has a van, which doesn't have that nose of the car? So that gave me the concern about the hiring the roof, but I was waiting to do this through the design board, and we, unfortunately, our previous contractor got sick and quit the job, and he had already built this without our approval, thinking that can be done. So we have this portion of the roof already constructed, already there.
It's constructed the way it was approved.
Not approved.
Oh, the
No,
way.
he raised this thinking that by raising that he can solve this problem of very tight situation for the cars parking here. So unfortunately that is built, and I hope you will help the owner to not to demolish that. It's very, very costly. However, this room that we are adding is, in fact, we have in the old plans, we are pushing this, there is
To the right. Right there.
yeah. In fact, we are pushing this wall a little bit further and creating a balcony here. And still that room will be set back from the face of this garage by 5 foot, so that portion will be our balcony. I think Milka forgot about these 2 curbs. We will have 2 curbs, except that the second one will be a little bit higher because they have construction issues there to put the concrete blocks to. So that concrete block is a little bit higher here, so we will still have that 2 curbs. Then, if you see in the elevations, still again we have the slope of the roof. This roof is steeper than this roof. Still is steeper. If we don't have this height here, when the roof of this room comes down, it will have a very low roof. And separating, we still have a little bit inches here to lower this roof, but breaking these 2 roofs from each other by inches will create a very small difference here, which will be difficult to construct. Other than that, there are a lot of issues that mentioned. If you can remind me to answer to these questions. The garage door will be changed. I believe you will like this garage door better. And windows, those windows that we show for this one here, that is not a window. This is something that during my education of Spanish style, I found out that this is phony. There's nothing there, just a form. It's not a window. So if you allow us, we'll have, instead of this thing here, a window that functions. And since our landing are in different elevations, we try to put that window where the landing is, which is accessible or something that they can reach to open or clean. Other than that, the color, the texture will remain the same thing. By the way, since we have a lot of oak trees, if you look in the site plan, you will see these are all oak trees. And nothing should be planted underneath or
My
irrigated.
question was, are you going to maintain, you have a lot of Italian cypress back there that are taller than the roof?
What is that? Is that
They're inside the oak
We
trees.
can wait till you're done with your time and then.
Okay. My time is done?
Okay, then if you could just step back, please. Okay, now you guys can talk with the mics. If you could answer her question, please.
Ahead of the oak trees, between the oak tree and the building, you have 6 or 7 Italian cypress that are tall.
On the side? On the side of the
Going
building?
back, across the back. And they're taller than the roof.
I can't remember that. Isn't that down at the behind the oak trees
No,
towards
they're
the?
between the oak trees and the... They're
Actually,
Italian
ma'am,
cypress.
So we
need
can't
to come
cross-
up.
Are these the ones you're talking about here? The ones you can see off?
Yes.
Judy,
Maybe
can you
show
show me the location?
They are
Maybe we can
actually,
use this picture too.
let's see. You see the oak trees right here? They're right in here. They go across, and you can see in this picture, right here, they block the whole back.
That is behind the oak tree. See, in picture you see that is oak tree, then that
Okay,
is.
but I'm saying these are taller than the roof. Are those going to remain?
I think that belongs to the neighbor, not to this property.
Okay, that could be.
Can I ask you a question while you're here?
I guess
Mr.
there's...
Goldman?
I guess so.
Was this part of the original design?
When we came to design the board, we didn't have these steps. But later we got the stamp from the design board and we had a permit for them.
So those are, it's not a bridge, it's
It's
a
not-
step.
Stamped it on the plan.
No. It goes just on the.
You guys
that's
approved
the-
the stairs.
That goes to the deck, okay, so it's,
Yeah, it goes down.
it's right here,
It goes with the grade.
okay, all right.
I don't remember offhand, but
Did you say the extra room was, well, I'll wait till you get back. Did you say that extra room is going to be a bedroom, or what?
We have, yes, we have an option inside to add a bathroom there so that we can use it as a bedroom.
Okay, because I don't know, okay, but you can, so then you have to have some kind of in-between space, right? Because it can't open up directly into a garage from a bedroom.
No, may I show where that bathroom will go?
Sure.
That bathroom will go here. This is the stairs, and we made minor changes here. The door was a little bit in front, now we pushed it back, and this is where the bathroom will
I
go.
don't think the bedroom can open up directly into a garage, though.
If that is the case,
Yeah,
then,
that's right.
if that is the case, then we will have
Yeah, you have to have a corridor or something.
corridor here, yes.
And then a door into that room and
Yeah.
closet.
Which kind of messes everything up there.
Then we'll have a door here to the room and a bathroom here.
Draw all that in for us. Or you
That's
can-
interior thing, and it's not going to affect the elevations.
Oh, okay. Do we have any other questions for the architect?
Yeah, a couple questions.
In the design that was originally approved, there were some little things that really could have, I mean, are part of that Spanish sort of feel. If you notice here, I made a note of it, this little, pushed back. Is that still there, or has that been changed?
That is nice that you mentioned that, so that we have to, I'm not sure if it's there or maybe it's not. Maybe it's not, and we have to, the problem was this contractor that got sick and quit the job, and he left, he's gone, and whatever he's done, maybe right or wrong, we inherited what he did. Now we have to go back and make possibly some corrections.
Okay.
Okay.
So if I'm understanding it right, the reason why you're raising the ridge is so that you can raise the plate at the garage. Right, so when you come in the garage, you don't have that sloped surface too close to a car, the ceiling itself. You're saying that this whole thing had to raise because in section, you have a separate section.
I think it has to do with the room that they're extending on the adjacent
Yeah, I want to
side.
get to that in a second, but
Yeah.
That's the reason.
yeah.
the angle of the thing, because your rat tails are already clearing any intrusion, and your header is way down here.
No, he was saying at the end, you showed me a drawing here.
No, it's right there.
Are you talking
Right
about
at the
this
lower
garage?
right.
Yeah.
Lower right.
The lower garage. Where's the lower? Right here. You were saying that when you come in, you were concerned about that being too low.
Yeah, this was very low.
So, but is that what's driving the change, or is it because of the additional room that you know? Both. So if you didn't do the additional room, you probably wouldn't have to do that.
Well, again, maybe for the garage problem, we have come back again to you to show that we have a real serious problem with that corner. It's very low.
What is this right here?
That is a wheel stop.
Bring it in.
If somebody makes a mistake.
No, that's a good, that's a good wheel.
It goes right through the...
So the wheel, so that's that curved wheel stop right there.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that
So no
curved
one
wheel
drives off
stop,
the hill.
if we had our old roof design, that curved wheel stop prevents even a van from getting any closer and hitting those rafters right there.
Right. I think we know. Okay, do we have any other questions for the architect? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll call you up if we have any other additional questions. Thank you.
The owner is here also.
Yeah, we have the second card, Catalina Perez, the owner. If you could just state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, I'm Catalina Perez, and I do live at 3290 at Cahuenga, Los Angeles, California. And I did have the neighbors, few of them, they approached me, they came in, they talked to me personally, especially the guy from 3229, I believe so. My other neighbor, I forgot her address, but the two neighbors that are right next to my construction. And they just told me they were curious. They're like, what are you adding to your house? I said, I'm adding a room. And they said, is it behind the staircase? I said, yes. I said, oh, okay, great. Then we're okay with it. So they actually came personally to me, and I just wanted to share that with you guys.
Okay. Thank you. Oh, do we have any questions for the owner? No. I think we're okay. Thank you. I have no other cards. Do we have anyone else that wants to speak on this case? Oh, then we'll close up and discuss. Mr. Adriano, would you like to get us started?
Yeah, I mean, I think the request is not unreasonable. I do think that it changes the design quite a bit, though. And I'm kind of torn because I'd like to hear the other comments from other members of the board. It's one of those things where practically you could probably make that garage work. As Mr. Innsworth said, a person will never go that far. And it's a garage. I mean, it's not livable space. So from that perspective, I'd say, maybe it doesn't warrant all this. The additional room is nice to have, but it's really a tiny room, and it's creating a lot of impact on the elevation. Even though you don't see it from the street because it's behind the staircase, it does increase this height quite a bit. I mean, it's now more... What worries me is this proportion. I mean, this has completely changed everything. It's almost, if you're going to do that, it's almost better to maybe make this window a little bit bigger so that you have more of a presence. Maybe this window becomes, I don't know if that's possible because your floor line looks like it's here. Suppose you could raise that just to fill it because the proportions right now are really odd. Maybe this could be a big picture window. That might actually bring it back to this. I really like what you've done here. I think the proportions are just right. And also what happens when you as soon as you add this room here, now you don't have this piece anymore. That's sort of this object that just stands from the slope below. Now it's it's a hybrid. It doesn't know what it is anymore. It doesn't know what it wants to be. It's sort of, is it just this or is it this now? And it just doesn't read as nicely because it looks like an afterthought. I mean, you want the square footage, you put it there, and you have to raise it, the ridge, because you want that room to work. It also gives the advantage of the headroom in the garage. They're all reasonable things to do. I just think it has so much impact. So it transforms this quite a bit. I mean, this is, I I'm not going to say that I won't support it, that I will. I just want to hear all the comments first. But I think it's a very delicate situation. Especially, when you read this, there's a nice rhythm, not rhythm, but a certain hierarchy here. You have, smaller piece here, larger piece, and then this thing reads as sort of this little turret. 3 little pieces. Now it's basically just one big thing, separated by that. Because this is going to disappear. This relationship here is so small. At least from here, there's some understanding of what's going on. So there's obviously no reason to comment about anything else because everything else seems to work. I was concerned about that walkway, but since it's a requirement. But I think I would be careful how this is dealt with. If that's a retaining wall that matches that, I think that would be good. But if it's just a floating piece of slab, that might be an issue, I think, for me anyway. It's up to the chairman if he wants, Mr. Chairman. I think the applicant wants to.
Maybe after we get through, maybe.
So that's all I have to say. It does change the street a little bit, but not drastically. I think this is really nice. I have no issue with changing the windows, but when you look at this elevation and that, this tower right now is not quite as nice as that. I mean, it just doesn't have the same charm. Just doesn't. I do like the doors. I think the doors are great. And just by doing that, I think you're changing the look of it. I suppose if you come back to this detail here, you could give it a little bit more refinement. But to have a straight piece like that, it doesn't quite look as nice. And I think it needs that. It needs that because it feels like it's a little hat. And that's all for now. I just want to hear where we go off this, and we'll come up to a solution to this.
Thank you. Ms. Palmer, would you like to go next?
I agree with Mr. Aliano regarding the back elevation of the original design. I think that's quite nice and it reads well. And I think the fact that you do have a smaller window area here helps this, whereas this starts to read very vertical. And as he said, this becomes a bigger mass. I have more of a problem with the front windows. I think this is really nice, soft, unassuming, and it has the flavor of the design characteristics where this starts to look like a tower. And when you drive by on the street, I think that would stand out, especially with the vinyl windows pop out. That's my main concern.
Thank you.
Okey-doke. I mean, I have to agree with Mr. Aliano and yourself that what appears to be losing, in addition to adding some bulk, is those finer touches that really is indicative of that kind of architecture. We've lost a bit of those things, and when you look at it as one item, but then when you start adding some of those things, it becomes a little bit more obvious. By losing this, by the softness and the simplicity of this medallion, everything isn't always function. This is certainly not a functional element, but it's certainly a refinement to the design. The mandolin shape of these walls, they could have been built straight, but that's a refinement of the architecture, which is indicative of this type of style. And you see a lot of that. The chimney doesn't need to look like this, but it's a refinement of that style. And I think the original design in its concept really achieved that fine architecture. You should be commended. It's really great work. Now you start going further away from that, and you see that it's starting to really change the design. Anything that I may say here is not to design it for you, but I love this design, and that's why I live in Glendale where I live. I've always appreciated this kind of design. I think that we have opportunities, in my opinion, with not changing the framing where it is now, or at least working with it. I'd sure hate to start removing the plate heights and the rafters and all that other stuff. And the homeowner and the poor architect, the original framer got sick, got crazy, whatever, and now we're stuck with this. I think there's opportunities, in my opinion, to capture it again. I think that this is an example of good work, and I think we should want that. Just try to get that little swoop in here. Along the back of the wall, I couldn't agree more that this plane now starts looking big. But what if the same way that we put these corbels here, we just didn't double frame this wall, thicken it up, add a fake thickness to it? You'll never know, meaning take this, thicken it up like this, thicken up that wall a little bit, and underneath it put in some more corbels so that we then have two planes. And so this is no longer one plane. We added the thickness of it. It'll be part of the framing. And underneath it, add some corbels. You look at the, again, this is not to design it. This is trying to work with what you got. This is what it would look like on this side. All you would do is increase the framing, allow a little space for corbeling. And if you now see you have two different planes along that wall, that could help that. To try to come back to the frame, more finer design. As Mr. Aliano was saying, there's a big mass here. What if you considered, again, it's part of this Spanish architecture. What if you since this is garage space anyway, what if you just hollowed out those walls and added a little bit of this little recessing back into here, stuff like that, so that it breaks up this massing. If you go to the section, you just take out the framing, add some things, so that there's a little bit of interest here. You remove the wall here. You may want to put a little underneath it here and a little underneath it here, like you have here. Okay, you're bringing this architecture back to here. Take a little bit of this massing. Okay, that's working for me. And try to introduce a little bit of what was lost, unfortunately, by this framer in those little details. And I think after you spend an hour or two refining some of those things, I think you get back the original intent and not have to change many of those plate heights and all that other stuff. Because the last thing I know that anyone wants to do is to take this plate, which is currently here, and drop it down. I think you can maybe leave it there and try to introduce some little things to bring the massing. So that would be right, and not have to go with the big changes.
So you're okay with the changes then?
If a little bit, if a little refinement, a little bit of what do we do here to help, I think it could work.
Okay. I think a lot of good suggestions have been said. I also agree that proportionally, I mean, you had it right the first time, and I'm sure you know, looking back at it, that it is going to change it. The hierarchy of it gets kind of a little convoluted. The tower element, so it doesn't have the same presence to it, and you realize all those. But I think I'm okay with the changes, like you said. If we go back and sort of put back some of the things that were already there before. But I too have some issues with the front two windows that are there. I think it takes away from that tower element. Maybe one will do, maybe in the proportion of a square that you have more up here than there, with more of a. So I think maybe something like that, and putting some kind of decorative ironwork in front of it, I think might work. Let's see. Well, why don't you go ahead and come up? I'll open it up again. And
I think Mr. Insua solved my problem. I don't
name
have
and
much
address
to
again,
say.
please.
He said what?
Name and address again, please. Sorry.
Edward Hagobian, 220 South Kenwood, Suite 210, Glendale 91205. That's my address, and I appreciate and thank you, Mr. Insua. We'll do it.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question, maybe for both.
Who's that?
His omnipotent voice.
Sorry. The way that the west elevation is drawn with the additional room, that is showing essentially a continuous roof with the main form that in the drawing is to its left. So while I appreciate and understand the refinement that Board Member Insua is asking for, to add additional framing, fur it out, corbel it so that there is that horizontal piece and some hierarchy is created. I just wanted to call your attention to the fact that it's still a singular roof, and is that also going to be okay if that additional room remains? So I just wanted to call your attention to that point.
Did you have anything else?
No, simply I need a copy of what Mr. Insua did. That's
You'd be agreeable to his suggestions then. Okay. Thank you. We'll close it back up. Does anyone have any comments about the comments that Stephanie made regarding the single roof.
Right. I mean, I think that's probably the strong statement, and it's valid, because once you continue that ridge all the way to the addition, it's a totally different animal. It's quite different. I'm still having trouble with it. I would say if the issue here is to not create hardship to the current owner and just have them keep what they have, I would say keep the framing where it is for the garage, but don't add that room, and just try to work with what you have and make it, add the things that Mr. Insua said to kind of break up this area here a little, because this is quite different. The moment you already have this issue, and then you have also this issue, I think it's just creating more problems. So I'm having concerns about that. I have no doubt that Mr. Agobian will be able to add architectural details to this to refine it, but it's really, and that's good, but it's the proportion is still in the ridge. I mean, I think that's a bigger issue. And that's what's doing that, is that additional room. It's not really a lot of square footage that they're adding. So it's not the square footage that bothers me. It's what that little square footage is doing to the massing that's very troublesome, because I don't know that it's worth it. I don't think it's worth. Frankly, I think it's ruining the house. I mean, I'm going to be really blunt about it. I think it's ruining the design of the house. And the whole point of all this is try to get the best product we can get, and I think Mr. Gomez has done that. This is really a nice project, and because now there's an error, or a framer built something without having had the chance to look at it. Now we're stuck with it, and I'm saying, okay, maybe we don't let them remove that just because it's a hardship, but there's no reason why, because the room is not built yet.
It's not been, it's not been built yet.
Yeah, the room is not built yet. Yeah. Okay. I'm willing to listen.
Again, I have to
open it up.
Yes. Edward Tagobian, 220 South Cambridge Street.
That's your punishment for wanting to see.
205. Mr. Aliano, how about if you put a roof on top of that balcony instead of having balcony?
No, that just creates.
No, actually, I don't mind the balcony.
Let me show it to you.
It's the roof line that's kind of.
So to take this and make it
Oh, I see what you mean. That could help. Yeah, that could help.
that will.
But you still have the ridge. Is there any way you can break that ridge? Is there any way you can?
I don't think you have roof, Mr. Hagopian. I don't think you have angle. See, if you're saying
You won't have that one.
put this into roof.
Oh, yeah, actually, has quite a bit.
get rid of the
He has
balcony?
quite a bit.
Yeah.
He has quite a bit right here.
Well, what can I say?
I like the balcony.
The balcony is good feature.
But that still doesn't deal with the fact that this is where the split is what we
It's
want.
the ridge that's really, I think it'd be nice if you could go back the way you
Yeah,
had
yeah,
before,
maybe.
somehow deal with this roof differently.
But I understand what you're saying, though.
Drainage of the roof.
Well, you have the same, because you have gutters.
And there's no
At that time,
no easy solution for a new roof there. Yeah. There's no easy solution for a roof there. You can't go higher, you can't go lower.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying, you have to have that
No.
roof there. I mean, you can open roof.
Yeah? I like the balcony.
Close it back.
The balcony's kind of fun. You can see how... You originally had a weird framed roof anyway. If you notice, you originally had a weird framed roof anyway. Where am I? Where's the back of the structure? I can't find it now. You originally had... See this roof? This roof, well, this roof, if you look at it in the roof plan, it was not really a true roof. It had a California tweaking kind of roof. What if, I don't want to draw on this, but what if at this point, see how this point matches here? What if at this point you push this back this way, came across this way, framed it here, So you have this thing still consistent to what we had here, and then you have this hip going back this way, and now you tie it back in here. So instead of having the same angle, you've got the roof here, then that hip and that valley is created there, and this is on the back plane. So this actually is not in plane with this, it's in the back plane. And you can see it on the roofing plan, framing that you still have this angle, it sits by itself. These two panels are parallel, or the same angle, but opposite
It
angles.
also brings down the ridge.
Yeah, and it brings down the ridge.
Well, it brings this ridge down.
And it could bring that, then that ridge is just a matter of the mathematics, keeping your slope angle here. But break it here, keep that angle the same, and then return it. Return it.
on the roof plan?
Yeah.
So here.
So this essentially gets broken back like this, and now so you can see what happens there. This reads as its same element as it did before, and then this is a result of just finishing that angle right
You
there.
get a valley though there.
Yeah, you get a valley here
How?
if this.
It's the same angle, though.
No, you won't get a valley.
Sure. It's like,
Yeah, how would you?
It's just a line.
Because you can't
okay,
make
well,
it
you
steeper.
can figure it out. I can doing it quickly. I'm only 12 seconds or
I
less.
think what
I'm
you
not
need
that
to do
great a
is drop
framer,
this
but
ridge. If you drop this ridge, then you can actually...
yeah, right. Then we can drop that ridge, and now you can break that angle.
I don't know if it was, you have to basically come back to this, and then this ridge has to come down.
That's already at 3 to 12, though.
Because this has to be a plane that does this. That plane has to come
Yeah.
down, so you're creating a valley here. You know? This has to be a plane that comes the other way.
Either way, you can isolate this by itself.
Just trade your pen.
All right, company
I
pen.
don't know, it was a fountain pen.
Anyway, you can isolate that and keep it alone, and then the other thing's behind there like it was before. Another thought, but anyway.
I think if you can solve that, it'll be good. That ridge.
I don't know how. Name and address, please.
Edward Hagobian, 220 South Kenwood Street, Suite 210,
Free
Glendale,
advertising, come on.
91205. I worked very hard to find that solution, but I haven't been able to so far to do
I don't
that.
see it either. Have you? I'm sure you spent time trying to do that. Though, right?
Maybe by lowering that portion of the roof by 1 foot, we can somehow start to separate those two roofs from each other.
If you're already at 8 feet 3 inches in the room.
That's the dilemma, yes. We'll end up with 7 foot 3 inches then.
Okay.
Well, anyway, that roof
It's
is
up to
not visible from anywhere. The backyard is so low that if you go back and look back to the building, you will not see that roof. From the street,
Right.
you will not be able to see.
Okay, so that's your argument for it.
I'm not arguing,
Okay.
but simply explaining.
I have another question. Can the head of that window go higher
The
fill
tall
in?
window,
to fill in that white spot?
I don't think so. It's already, his header's right there.
Is this the window
Right
here?
up the point, yeah.
which one?
Yeah, see.
What if he extends the roof and brings it down
Can
lower?
this line go up another 1.5 feet?
If there is any room between the floor of the garage, yes.
Is this the section, this is the section through there?
His
No,
header's
that's
right
the
at the floor
garage.
line.
That's for the, yeah, that's what it is. This is it right here. That's your header.
Maybe if he extends
This
the
is
roof
the original,
down.
right? This is the original drawing? No, that's the new drawing.
Yeah, that's the new drawing.
That's how you've expanded.
If you
Yeah.
allow us to work with the staff, maybe you can.
Yeah.
Well, please work hard to find a solution.
Make these pieces lower.
Probably okay. I just think if you just raise it.
Yeah, I don't like this either. It's his forehead sticking out.
It would be shallow. So.
Okay, how do you guys think?
The idea of putting a roof here, though, I mean, I know the balcony is nice, but look what it does, though. It does reduce this height, you know. Now you would have a little shed roof here. Which But it would create a horizontal line here, which would keep this height.
Arm wrestle with Ivan about it.
No.
Because he wants to keep the balcony.
No, I think the balcony could be interesting, but
Yeah. Okay. How do you think we should proceed with this? Do we have any motions to entertain? Because I think we can all agree that definitely putting the details back into the house is what we want, right? That's one thing. How do we feel, I guess, let's talk about the more minor issues first and then move up to the big one. The window in the front, are we okay with the two that are leading down, or?
I think I agree with you. I think the top one maybe should become the little rosette.
Right, more like
Keep
that
the
one,
bottom
right?
one, yeah.
Okay.
But more, yeah, I agree. Those two, one on top of each other, don't work.
So,
What about the back?
yeah, the front one here. Make it more like that one over there.
Right, I agree.
Okay.
So
we have
remove
that.
two and put one,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
and not have the rosette?
What if it's what I was going to say.
You prefer the
could be at the
rosette?
top. The rosette could be at the top, and
Right.
it matches the other side.
Want to bring it down a little bit?
Because there is one
Just
here.
take the one
framing's
window out,
already
'cause
there.
it's just a corridor.
This one
Keep the
goes
rosette
that
and
way.
put the window underneath it? Is that what we're saying?
Right, keep the rosette here and the
Right.
window here.
That's, I agree with
That way
that.
this rosette and that rosette are on the same line.
Okay, I'm okay with that.
Is that right?
Now the balcony versus the roof versus the breaking away the roof into two pieces. Is that something?
They have to work with staff. They can achieve that.
Okay. So work really hard at trying to get the two roofs to be different roofs. Okay.
And then somehow figure out a way to raise that, the header of that. Yeah, they could probably adapt, they could work with this section a little bit. So maybe if something happens here, maybe this instead of being, I know it's already framed, but that's the thing. But somehow, I think they should deal with that, yeah.
Okay.
Proportions of that space. Either by raising the window.
Yoga, did you get that part of it? Just shorten that portion. Any motions that we want to consider?
So are we leaving the balcony in the back here?
I think that's one of the options, or going with the roof.
Depends on how they resolve the roof.
Yeah.
Well, I think the roof can certainly
Yeah,
be
but I think if they
resolved.
split that off, then I'd be okay with the balcony too.
Okay.
See, I think the way to resolve the roof, I just had an idea. I know that you don't like to do this sort of thing because I know how you work. You don't like balconies to not have a roof. But there is a way to do it if you can accept not having a roof over the balcony, which I think would actually make it nice because when you're in this balcony, well, actually your roof doesn't go that far.
No, it doesn't have a roof, right?
It doesn't. I made a mistake. I mean, if there's any way to bring that, the narrower you make this, the lower that ridge is going to be. Because what you want to do on this side is you want to mirror this, and then put sort of another piece of roof against that. You want to create a valley here. In order to reduce that and drop that, that's what you need to do. But I thought your roof was going to the edge, but it's not. Your balcony is partly covered and part, yeah. Because normally you like to cover the balconies. Yeah, I know that. I haven't seen you work here so many times.
Okay. Well, we can have them work with staff to try to separate that.
Yeah, I think if you can
It's
get that to break
difficult,
down.
but that and work it out. Would someone like to make a motion?
Do you want me to go
We just-
over
yeah,
some
go
of the
through the-
comments?
Yeah, let's go through the comments first.
I actually have a lot of notes, but in essence, we're trying to refine the building in order to take what was originally approved as far as the details, the curve on the tower. We have the hold on, let me just go down the list. Finer touches indicative of the architecture that was lost by losing the softness and simplicity, for example, of the tower and the medallion. We're trying to incorporate those details in order to refine the new
in.
design.
Right.
So we have For example, remove the front two windows at the tower, keep the medallion on the top, and add a window underneath.
Right.
Restudy the proportions of the rear west elevation, or increase the height of the window in order to break up the mass.
That's on the other side, right?
Right, on the west elevation where the garage is.
Yeah, right.
Correct.
It was more try to deal with this gap here that's created.
Yeah, if I may, I think we heard a few different options, potentially raising the window and extending the roof so that you reduce that very large area that is now the blank area that's now double the size of what it was. And there was also another suggestion by board member Insua that perhaps furring out the wall and adding some niches to it that would assist in filling that void. So it seems like it's an either or, but we maybe heard a preference, if it's possible, for raising the header of the wall in front of that, at that balcony essentially, and the header of that window, and extending the roof. And if that's not possible because of all of the floor heights and plate heights, that another thing to try would be create those niches. Does that sound right? We just want, because there was such specific detail, we just want to make sure we get your priorities right.
But I wouldn't say that it's sort of one before the other. I mean,
Okay, so you can go either way.
whatever solution they
Okay.
prefer. Yeah.
I think it may be difficult to try to raise any door or window height, especially something that's already been framed. You got the engineered header,
Right.
and it is what it is. And the only way you're going to do that is to remove it, support it, get an even maybe a micro steel beam in there, and that's just.
But your furring idea could do it though, because if you further the wall out, the line of the current, this line here, now becomes a header, a beam that's slightly recessed.
Right.
And then you're creating a second line up here. In other words, in profile you get, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think
If you keep that, if you further this, right, and you create another plane here, instead of that plane stopping there, you let it stop just higher.
so. You're not the window, but the
header.
arch,
The window
header,
can't
the
be
open,
changed,
right.
right. It's the header of that opening that could go higher.
Okay, well,
We'll leave it up to-
I think that we understand the intent of the board, but what I'd like also that we would add in the condition is to make sure that we have details submitted for that, for the eave of the roof, for that window, for that wall if it gets furred out with the niches, so that we fully understand it before staff approves it.
I have one more question. On the window. The window in the front, do we have a window section showing if that's recessed, or? It's the only window in the front. I would suggest that if we could get that recessed, it might make a bigger impact.
That's something that we can ask of them. I think,
It's not there right now, so.
because I don't think the other windows are, so.
No, but I mean, it's the only one in the front, and it is in a hallway, so it's wouldn't be a problem to recess it a little. But I think it would help a lot from that street view.
Okay, we can make that as a,
To recess that one window at the front tower. Also, board member, you had mentioned about incorporating an wrought iron detail in front of the window, but now since the board agreed on having a medallion, the one medallion above the window, should we just strike that
Yeah, I'm okay with
recommendation
that.
because it not to be
yeah,
too
classes,
ornate?
Yeah.
I mean, sheet number A4 appears to show those windows as recessed windows with the glass pushed back, but at least
I'm just wondering, since this is the only one in the front,
Yeah.
it could look good to push it back a little
I
further.
think it'd be
drawings-
nice.
Just put it in as a reminder, then, that those windows.
Do we have a motion?
Before we do the motion, there was a great deal of reference to the details that were shown in the original renderings and that are to some extent shown in the current elevations. But just so that staff understands the details that are important to the board as we continue to work with the architect and owner and applicant, because we understand that this is in construction and some things may have changed. The flaring of the walls whenever they occur, we heard specifically that that is an important feature on the project. The size and proportion of the windows, as shown, is important on the project, as the corbelling, the exposed rafter tails, the edges of the roof, the details as shown around the windows, all of those details are of importance as the design is executed. So we'll be working with the architect to compare, because we know that the board hasn't had the time to compare the previous drawings to the current drawings to that level of detail, and staff will be responsible to make sure that the level of detail, including the detail around the new additions of the stairs and the landings, are all consistent with the design as it was originally presented and approved.
Thank you. Now do we have a motion? Guess we don't have a motion. Okay. What keeps us from having a motion?
Did someone make a motion?
No.
Can you read quickly, real fast, what we're...
Remove the front two tower windows, keep the medallion on top, and add a recessed window underneath. Restudy the proportions of the rear west elevation, and there was some discussion as to how to accomplish that. We talked about increasing the height of the window in order to break the mass, but apparently that won't work.
Correct, so strike that one out.
Okay, so in that case, raise the header, and or extend the roof in order to, or incorporate niches in order to fill the void.
Right, okay. By...
So either raise the header of the wall in front of the balcony and the header at the balcony and the header of the roof, or the second option was to incorporate the niches.
Okay, keep going.
Make sure the details submitted for the eave of the roof, the niches, etc., to be submitted prior to final approval to the staff. Details of the original rendering to be incorporated in the new design. That includes the flaring of the walls, where they curve, the size and proportion of the windows, the corbels, exposed rafter tails, edges of the roof, details as shown on the roofs. Details of the stairs and landing to be consistent with the design that was originally approved.
How about the balcony on sheet 8 or on west elevation over here? Did we talk about that? Or?
Oh. Thank you for reminding us. That was a suggestion you made that the board members agreed upon, that area should be furred out with additional corbels made so that gets called out as a different form, and that the roof above that additional room is separated and lowered, separated from the form to the left of it as you see it on the drawing, and lowered so that those are two separate roof forms.
I'll make a motion to approve with the conditions as noted.
I'll second that.
And that was a motion to approve the project with the conditions. Board Member Insua?
Yes.
Board Member Palmer?
Yes.
Board Member Aliano?
Reluctantly, yes.
Chairperson Yu?
Yes.
Motion carries 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you. Move on to the second case. 1 PDR-2009-033-A, 420 Nasmith Road. And There she is. It's all yours, right?
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, the project before you with the case number PDR 2009-033 is located at 420 Nesmos Road. This project was reviewed by the board on May 15 and December 18, 2008, and was returned for redesign. The project is a construction of 2,242 square feet of three-story single-family residence and includes 2 floors above the attached garage. The zone is R1R, floor area ratio 2, and the site has approximately 70% slope. The subject lot is vacant and is on an up-sloping situation. The site plan orientation remains as the previous submittal. However, articulation is proposed on both first and the second floor, and the roof is broken up, and the multi-level roofing is proposed. The main roof is not a continuous roof, as you can see here. As it was previously proposed, it is broken down into smaller elements at varying height. The house has been lowered into the site and more significantly terraces with the slope of the lot of the site. The retaining walls are stepped. They are lower in height. And follow the contour of the site. Where they are more visible on the street front, they have stone finishes. At the back of the house, they are finished in split face concrete. The driveway slope is a lot less sharp than the previous proposal, and the landscaping proposes a great number of variety of plants. Above the residence, at the rear, sycamore and live oaks are proposed, and the majority of the landscaping is consistent with the landscape guidelines for hillside development. The house will be 29 feet on the street front, and it will be 15 feet at the rear. This zone would allow for 0.4 floor area ratio, but due to the slope of the site being above more than 50%, the maximum floor area ratio is reduced to 0.3, and the current proposal has a floor area ratio of 0.29. Due to the location of the site and the surrounding hills, the building has limited visibility from many angles. The house has modulation, as I mentioned previously, on all sides, and multi-level roof is in comparison to the previous proposal. The proposed style of the house is Spanish Revival. Previously, Mediterranean was proposed for the house. Windows and fenestrations are more appropriate to the style and scale of the house. The windows are more vertical, smaller, and wooden lintel and sills are proposed where they extend beyond the width of the windows. Combination of stone and stucco are proposed for this building. At the garage level, the stone creates a base for the building and breaks the building horizontally, reducing the vertical mass of the building. Although this is technically a new project, staff recommend that the board review the project in relationship to the previous proposal on December 18th. So, if the board wishes, I can go over the comments or conditions and how the applicant has addressed them.
Why don't you go ahead?
Okay.
Go through it.
There were 6 comments. Number 1, reconsideration and reconfiguration of the form of the house so the house fits in and becomes part of the hillside. Although the configuration of the house remains similar to previous submittal, it is modulated on all facades and lowered into the side by 2.3 feet. The driveway slope is reduced relative to the previous proposal, and retaining walls are stepped, lowered in height, and follow the contours of the site. The proposed modification allows the house to better fit into the hillside as required by the board condition. Number 2, reassess the style of the house for a better fit with the hillside. The traditional design for the building appears boxy and inappropriate for the hillside. The proposed style remains traditional, but it is revised from modified Mediterranean to Spanish Revival with appropriate details and design. The revised design appears more authentic to the Spanish Revival style than the previous submittal, with improved use of materials and details. In particular, the windows and overall fenestration pattern has been modified for a substantial improvement to the overall design. The proposed modulations on each facade of the house, multi-level roofing, the use of combination of stucco and stone has minimized the boxy appearance of the house. Introduction of stone at the garage level has provided a base for the building, has broken the building horizontally, reducing the vertical massing. Number 3, consider moving interior staircase forward for less excavation. The interior stairs have moved forward and do not protrude beyond the walls at this level. Therefore, less excavation is required. This provides an improvement to the design and fulfills this condition. Number 4, consider revising the roof design to more closely follow the slope of the site. The roof plan is modified with introduction of multi-level roofs. The main roof has been broken into smaller elements and is no longer a continuous single roof and follows the slope of the site. 5, consider breaking the roof into smaller units and modulating the building facade on the first and the second floor to break up the mass. Floor area ratio is not a problem. The style and mass of the house needs to be reassessed. Modulation is proposed on all building facade on the first and the second floor. Additionally, the second floor is recessed relevant to the first floor, particularly on the south and north elevation. The roof has been broken into smaller units and is no longer a continuous form. As a result of the proposed changes, the building mass is reduced. Currently, Spanish Revival style is proposed for the house, while previously a Mediterranean style was proposed. The building has been lowered into surrounding hillside, minimizing the appearance of the mass. The final point, window size and configuration to be finalized in consultation with staff. The size and style of the windows need to be modified in conjunction with design changes in size, placement, and type. Windows shall be of high quality. The size and material of the windows has been modified to be better located and proportioned. The proposed wood windows are smaller and have more vertical proportion with divided lights, typically seen on a Spanish Revival style. Proposed are wood lintels above the main opening on the front facade, flush with the plaster finish. Also proposed are the wood sills at each opening, which extend beyond the opening width, typical of the traditional Revival style. Overall, the proposed design and material are consistent with the Spanish Revival style of the house, with high quality finishes, and the building appears to fit this eclectic neighborhood. The proposed modulation on each facade of the house with individual roof, as well as the combination of the stucco and stone veneer, has created a building appropriate to the neighborhood. Staff recommend approval of the project, and if there is any question, I'll be glad to answer.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for staff? for the project? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to the cards. Maybe we could have the applicant come up first. Alfred Baban? No.
Alan Barsigan.
Well, that's the applicant. Okay. Well, who wants to speak first then? You are,
applicant.
sir?
Yeah. Alan Barsigan. My name is Alan Barsigan.
Okay, so this one is wrong then. Okay. Yeah. If you could state your name and address for the...
Okay, my name is Alan Barsigan. My address is 1019 Raleigh Street, Glendale, California, 91205. I'm the designer of this project and applicant. Actually, everything, thank you, Jale, everything is stated. Just I want to say this design, new design done based on previous DRB comments and conditions. If I may just approach and then...
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Is the pointer there?
One of the comments...
If you could speak up into the mic, please.
Okay, one of the comments was the stairs, which is compared with the previous one.
I don't think it's up there.
Yeah, it was like here, if you remember. It's moved already. By doing this one, it's going to be less grading. It was one of the comments. The major comment was the mass of the building. If you can see this elevation, I broke the vertically and horizontally. If you see the this level, it's going like this. I mean, broken horizontally and then vertically, like these 2, 3, and then these levels. The roof actually, look at the roof plan, old one. I don't have roofs. Okay. Anyway, this one is just only one piece roof. By new roof, it's already out of pieces parallel to the slope, existing slope. And maybe all door and windows. Actually, it's wood door and windows. And then the other thing, retaining walls. You can see very high retaining walls, and this new design. It's almost 18 inch, 24 inches is high retaining wall. The other important thing, the rear side, which is retaining wall. This wall, you can see on this old design, 15 feet straight, one piece retaining wall. On this case, have actually two retaining wall, which is one 5 feet, the other one 10 feet high, total 15 feet maximum height. Do you have any question?
Okay. You could just return back to the point, please.
Is it engineering done on the house already?
Not yet, but I had meeting.
It's being recorded.
Sure.
So speak into the mic, please.
For the engineering, I had already a meeting with civil engineer and structural engineer. They actually it's going to be for retaining walls, going to be caissons, foundations. For the main building, it's going to be retaining walls with French drain.
Okay. Do we have any other questions for the applicant?
Yes. Regarding the materials on the steps and the railings?
Yeah.
What's
okay,
that?
railings, actually railings, it's iron railings.
Is it a
Steps.
decorative?
Decorative, yeah, it's actually decorative railings. The steps is going to be same like driveway paving is going to be same paving. I have Yeah,
This-
this one.
And the same thing for the
Yeah,
steps
same
on the
thing
side?
with this step, yeah, going up to there.
And my other question is, there's 3 large trees on the left front corner of the lot. It appears from your landscape plan that those are being removed, the ones on the neighbor's property.
Actually, the landscape, I believe he kept the large trees, but structurally it could be there. I mean, the structure it's okay. We can keep the large trees.
That's the only questions I have.
Okay. Do we have a detail of the window or what type of window they're using?
They are using wood window.
What does that mean, wood window?
Do you have a sample or manufacturer?
Oh, actually, we just.
If you could.
Using windows and doors for
There's
entry.
somebody to get out.
Actually, for entrance, and it's gonna be not like this, but
Sir, can you speak into the mic?
yeah, the style is actually it should be wood. We're gonna use this one and without any, any clear with, for entrance. Well, typical windows. Actually, it's wood windows, awning windows. I spoke with the manufacturer, with Pella. They can do that, but in this brochure, there is no type that I want to do. Actually, it's a wood with the divider in front divider. Not
So we need to have an example of that.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, if it's not in there, it's okay.
Yeah. Okay.
We'll work that out. Okay. No more questions for the applicant? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And, okay. They all say applicant, so
Actually,
who wants to be the next applicant?
Yeah.
Okay.
I apologize. I filled them out and I just transposed.
Oh, okay.
So, I'm sorry.
If you would like to come up and state your name and address, please.
My name is Alfred Babians. I'm the owner of the property. And I don't know if you recall, Mr. Wu, you were one of the board members last time in the last hearing.
I remember, yes.
Which you made very good comments. At the time, I was a little bit emotional because I was thinking that...
I remember.
Yes, that I was thinking that I'm... anyways, I don't want to get into that. What happened after the conclusion of that hearing, I went out, I spoke with my previous architect. He told me that the best he could do, he couldn't do anything more. So I started searching for another architect, which I'm not taking away anything from the previous architect. He wasn't a bad architect, but he was more like a civil engineer.
That's what I remember. He was an engineer.
Yes. And actually, I needed to get a real architect who's doing this type of design, hillside design. So I ran across Mr. Aram Barserian. He also looked at that previous design, and he didn't like it, quite frankly. He said he has to almost change it 180 degrees. By breaking it apart, he didn't like the massiveness of the roof or being a boxy looking in the roof, in the hillside. And that, as you can see, actually you can see in this perspective much better how it's situated step by step rather than, because the front view, it doesn't give you the whole picture. I think this one, I wish this was a colorful one so we could present to you in a, I think it's a missed opportunity, but if you like, I can make it available to you.
I think we have it up there.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's good. It gives a good view. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyways, while we were doing this and we were putting the sign and doing temporary framing for the, I ran across to a couple of neighbors over there, which they were very supportive of this project, especially when we showed them this design, and they really appreciate how it's going to fit that portion of the void area of the hill, which nobody really liked. It's like and they all wanted to support. I told them, why don't you come to the design review board and support it, but they came up with the excuse that they're busy and they may try, but nobody showed up. But they are, I think you probably also, Jale, ran across a couple of them that they really supporting this project. And we did our best to see how to incorporate all your comments into this new design. Mr. Ambasyan, he really took his time. He spent time with the staff, Glendale City staff, with Jale and Stephanie, and we went through a lot of meetings together to come up with this new design.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Do you have any questions for the owner? No? Okay. I think that's it for the cards. Is there anyone else here to speak on that project? There's only 2 people left, but okay. Ms. Palmer, if you can get us started on that one, we'll close the session. Go ahead.
Well, I definitely think the new design is much improved. I really don't have any comments regarding the proportions. I mean, I think it's nicely laid out. I will comment on the land. Well, first of all, I would want to propose that the conditions be that they provide the brick on the entry steps and the side steps, and that it have decorative railings, because nothing's called out at this point in time. And regarding the landscaping, I would like to see those trees in the left front remain, because they are mature, they go with the house, and it would enhance it. And then one more comment, there's a proposed sycamore tree in the rear left corner of the lot, and it happens to be positioned right in front of the balcony from the house up above. That's their only view. So I don't see a reason for it there, because it wouldn't be blocking, they couldn't be looking down on you, and I just don't think there's a reason to block that view up there. So that would be my comments.
Would you have a recommendation on what?
I think they could just relocate the tree, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with the varieties, but it's just, and I don't think it was intentionally put there. I just think it's happens to be right in their view.
With regards to the brick, did you say brick for the stairs to finish?
The stairs have a decorative finish, and he was proposing the brick as well as the stairs along the side of the property.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll be quick. Usually when no one comes out to support, if you will, is only because the design is so good. So as a compliment, they were busy, but I'm sure if they didn't like it, people would be coming out and telling you that complaint. So no one here to tell you good or bad. That's a support. I'll be quick. Your finish schedule and architectural finishes show smooth stucco. So one of the things we should put is steel troweled smooth stucco, which is part of the architecture. Plus the comments you made. Very talented, by the way, sir. You did a good job. The windows, I think we should have them high-quality pellet-type windows. It maybe submit a sample for final staff review, as they have. You indicated on item number 4 in your schedule, trims and exposed beams painted. Okay, good. Wood trims and wood beams painted. I think that would be part of it, as they're showing, which I'm sure you're going to do. So item number 4, wood trims and exposed wood beams to be painted to make sure it's wood. The windows, true divided lights, as they indicated, that's good. They indicate on finish schedule A 3.2 again, item number 5, stucco, La Habra, so-and-so, smooth. Again, smooth steel troweled stucco, which is part of this architecture. And I think I've got it all. Nice work. It's sometimes hard to hear critique, especially if it's your own home, but you can, and thank you for your nice comments. I wasn't here back then, but you can obviously see there's a big difference between someone who really knows what they're doing and someone, and it was nice that the other person's...
Literally, by going through this project.
Yeah, and you pick someone who's very good talent.
I'm a mechanic by trade, but
your air conditioner will be top drawer, so excellent, very talented.
Australiano.
Thank you.
It's all yours.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think there have been some very good comments. I think in terms of the way the house looks, I don't have a lot of concerns. In fact, I like the way some of the pieces are playing off of each other. The pieces above the garage, and then the little corner that's recessed where the stair is. All of that, I think, is very nice. It's peculiar that this that this actually raises fairly big. It'd be nice if there was a way to make this look less massive, but I can see that you need that. That's basically, it's just a dimensional issue. I mean, you have to have that much height in order for you to have patio back there. So I don't know if I can comment too much on that. I think my really main concern with the project is not really the architectural expression. It's the problem that I have with every project that's on a hillside, which is, we carve this hillside, we put these retaining walls, and then we just plop the building in between the retaining walls. And that's the look that I get when I see a house like that. You drive by and all you see is just this ring around the house made out of masonry, and then the thing. So to me, it doesn't feel like it's really nestled in the hillside. And I know why that is, because the code doesn't allow you to do a lot of that either, because you have to meet all these requirements for retaining walls and so on. So we've gone down this road many times with many different houses, and it's very difficult to do. So I guess at this point, all I can say is there any way to get these walls to look more homogeneous, with the surrounding, without making, especially all these little steps that are made with the walls? And is there any way to eliminate some of them? I understand why you have to do.
Be covered by landscaping.
We can't go back and forth.
See, like this area right here.
You can take notes and then we'll bring it back.
There's quite a bit of space between that and the property line. If there's a way to maybe even terrace this at this point, so that you get rid of these sort of sharp corners that already create this sort of enclosure feeling. Where if this were more gradual terracing, where you don't have to have these sharp edges. I don't mind so much the bottom one. In fact, the bottom one is okay. I'll make some comments about that later. But it's these little cutouts that really bother me. Even this one here and that one. I mean, for practical reasons, you got to have a way to get out. I wouldn't want to restrict you from doing that. But maybe there's a way to do this where you have a really nice curve here. I wonder whether this kind of curve can continue, and you create this kind of undulating wall that wraps the house, and then when you get here, maybe this is doing the same thing. Instead of these really sharp, what I'm saying is make it feel like it's part of the landscape rather than these sort of straight retaining walls that are just doing what they're supposed to do. They'll do the job, but aesthetically, it just feels strange to me. When you look at this, there's an elevation section here. I can understand very well what's going on here. I wonder whether instead of having a retaining, I wonder whether this, instead of being retaining, if there's a way to minimize the site. Maybe, I know it's probably not practical, but, you're at this level and you're coming right out. I wonder whether you have actually steps in here that actually bring you to the higher point, and then you terrace the slope so you can still have a way out of the patio, so that these stairs are part of the landscape rather than this cutout into the soil. I don't know if you follow what I'm saying, but maybe I'm not being clear. But the reason why this is so low, and the reason why you get this profile behind here, there's a retaining wall on here, is because you're getting out at this level, and you have to do that. But if you take this whole thing here and raise it up, and you may have to add a few more steps in here. But if you raise that whole thing up, and instead of the exit from the patio being down here, perhaps it was a pier somewhere, now you're minimizing this carving of the soil so much. I think it's a possibility, something that I think is worth looking at. So that now the only sort of enclosed, for lack of a better word, it's a pit. You put in this house in an enclosure that needs to be there to retain the dirt. Because this is behind the house, maybe less visible. If you planted some taller shrubs here, you hide in the all of this. Where's this section? I remember seeing a section here somewhere. That's the old drawing. Anyways, our packet has sections, but you're minimizing. If you put some shrubs or columnar trees there, perhaps you could hide this big wall. So when you're looking at it, you're not seeing this retaining wall behind the house. Because you don't see it here, but in reality, this is not really there. That's the low wall. The high wall is up here. Actually, I think you're suggesting that already. See, that high wall is somewhere here. So it sits right there. So you got to do something with that. But as far as this side, you could very easily do something that's more undulating, raise the stair higher, add more risers. You might have to clip this corner a little bit. I just have issues with all this. And I have issues with this as well. I think this should be more terraced rather than having a cut. And I would, instead, as I said before, instead of the steps, I would connect all, I would make a continuous, put a cap, a nice continuous cap, maybe precast. And if it's block, you could certainly cut the block, at an angle and let it follow the slope so that you see a nice continuous cap rather than these little steps. They're too busy, I think. I think it takes away from the house, here, all of that. So that's really my main concern, is trying to deal with these things right here and deal with this. I've kind of accepted that in the back. There's really not very much you can do. But I would, again, I would refer to you. There's a landscaping, if there's any way to really do something there. Because these walls are about 10 feet. There's a 10-foot grade change between here and there. That's quite a bit, and there's another 5 feet from here to there. So you got these 15-foot high cuts into the soil. I'm always bothered by that, but the way the code is written, it's really hard to go around that.
I think first of all, I think we could all see that it's a big change, and it has moved in the right direction. You found somebody that was actually able to take some of our comments and put it to useful. I guess rendering it and everything. It came out good. There's a couple of things that I'm still sort of stuck on in the fact that in a hillside lot you're still sort of relying a lot on these vertical lines, and so the house still seems a little taller. I like what's being done on the left side with the garage, so where you have sort of horizontal lines in there. We're breaking that up, and you're changing grades as you're stepping back. But on the right side, where the stair area is what it is, I guess, and it feels like a tower. And on the right of it, it still has a similar feel because it is a two-story sort of volume going up on there. I guess I could ask you once you come back up, but the 11-foot floor to ceiling or the floor to floor, I wanted to ask you about that. I think the use of materials is much better. You actually identified a style and you stuck to it. That's a lot better. You moved the staircase back in. That's excavation. Let's see. I guess for now we could start with that. I know you've been itching to come back up, so we'll bring you back up and open it up. Name and address again.
Aram Varsigyan, 1019 Raleigh Street, Glendale, California, 91205. Can I just...
Sure. Why don't you step up with the pointer?
You can have that if you like.
So if you could address some of the questions that were posed, that'd be great.
Actually for this one, if you see this level, actually deck level, why this stairs going like this? I mean, maximum with 5 feet retaining wall, because we can with these stairs we can just approach to this deck. If we're going up, actually we can't have any access from the building to the deck. That's the reason, because from this deck actually going level with the second level. I mean, from this door they can just enter this deck. That's why it's here. But Mr. Alon, you're right. We can just make a little bit stairs on this side, make this one bigger. I mean, lower the retaining wall, which is...
Right, but I wasn't referring... I wasn't asking you to raise this.
Raise
No,
this?
I was not asking to raise the patio.
Yeah.
What I was saying is that...
Raise this one. I mean,
raise the stair up so that when
it.
you're in the patio, you're actually going up and around rather than going around the corner.
Yeah, it's possible. The other one, actually this one is already broke By doing this design, actually I wanted to use the existing pad because if I gonna just broke and go back side, I mean design this way, I'm gonna have a lot of more, much more grading. That's the reason to keeping this way.
Which question were you answering with that?
Breaking this vertically to this one.
Right. I think this side is good.
Yeah.
I was actually talking about the other side.
The other side, you mean this side?
Yeah, that one.
For this side, we have this one, this roof. Then actually, these two, it's not the same plane. It's already broken.
Right. I'm referring to the two-story.
Two-story. This area. Yeah, but I made this architectural decor, this say Juliet balcony to broke somehow to broke this this one. But if I gonna just broke this area, it's gonna be very narrow because I don't have any space to do that. Actually, this one is better. It's only I believe it's only 11 feet, 10.8, only 10.8. That's why I keep this one to do some architectural decors to break the.
The trees that were in the corner, were we okay with keeping
this one? Yeah. Actually, we have trees. Actually, these trees.
That's a new tree. You have 3 existing trees.
Yeah,
there.
existing tree. I'm gonna just. There is no any reason to remove this one. We can just keep it.
No, but I mean, that is a new one. You have 3 existing ones.
Yeah,
I would
existing
suggest
one.
to stay.
Yeah,
Right.
we're gonna keep existing.
And then this is the one in the corner I'm talking about.
Yeah, and then this one. Yeah.
to relocate that?
Yeah, yeah. There's no problem. We can do that. There is no any structure there. Even this one is okay. We can keep it.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? Or
Yeah, I have another. Is there a way to, like in the rear here? Yes. This is a very, very tall wall. Is there a way to go? You have plenty of space. Is there a way to go back one more and have?
Yeah, I tried, Mr. Allen, I tried that. We can't reach because this one very slope. It's too steep. I tried that making by dirt one. You can't reach the natural grade. It's actually it's going like.
You have a section where you can show.
There is a section behind.
Show here.
Oh yeah, see, by doing another one, we can't reach the this point. It's going like another.
No, I was thinking that not here. It might start here.
Yeah, I know. There should be another 5 feet from this point. It's going 2 to 1 again by 5 feet, and then another 5 feet. We can't reach this slope. That's why I keep.
But couldn't that be? Because right now you have this side here.
Yes.
Couldn't you do the same thing there?
I can do, but there should be another grading. More grading.
It makes it worse because then you bring it up uneven height.
Yeah, okay. I can do that. A little bit more.
These are block wall. They're split.
That's gonna be split face. Yeah, split face. And then this area that you said, that's it's gonna be landscaping. I mean, this point, and then from the natural, it's going to be landscaping to cover those.
How about if the wall was slightly battered?
Oh,
you know what I mean? Instead of being straight like that, what if this wall was slightly battered like that?
That's an. I should talk with the structural and see what.
You
can't do that because
then you can create maybe little pockets where you can have
Yeah.
things growing and falling.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get the landscape to really engage all these things better, so that when you look at it, you're not looking at all these big cuts.
Oh, this from the street, you can see even the.
I know, but
yeah.
in concept, you know.
That's another issue.
And
but-
how do you plan on addressing that? Because I
Okay,
pointed
why?
that out.
Yes, why I did this one because by on 15 feet front setback, it's by code maximum 5 to 15 equal. That's why I have this one. Actually, by landscaping, it's going to be covered. But
But do you have? I mean, do you have to have this cut? Can this be done by terracing?
by terracing, because by code on the front 15 feet setback, I can't do anything higher than 18 inches. So,
But this is high here, isn't it?
no, this is just only level by natural grade. This portion actually it's
But
almost
there's a change grade here, right?
yeah change grade because but actually this one it's on ground level. It's going parallel to existing grade.
Right here. I see it right here.
Yeah.
What can you do here? Eliminate the cut.
This should be landscaping. Even again, this one, as you said, this one is.
So I guess what I'm saying, well, couldn't you create a series of smaller retaining walls here like this, like that, so that this, so you're cutting. I mean, maybe this could be slightly curved. So that now you have, dirt, small height, another planting area. So you're terracing that rather than having a cut like that.
But the thing what I did this one is going two ways by 2 to 1 maximum slope. It's going up 2 to 1 and the other one going like this 2 to 1. By doing the other one, I mean the diagonal or by angle, I believe it's going to be.
But that's your natural. But that's your contour.
Yeah.
If you follow the contour, that's what I was saying. Follow the contour. This being low, this being a little higher. I mean, low wall, a little higher wall here.
Yeah.
I think whatever you can do to eliminate these sort of sharp cuts.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
Same thing here. This should be more
that's,
curved. And if you do raise it, if you come up here with a stair in here, you could easily put steps in here, come up here, and then put all the stuff, here. So now the difference between this and the grade is gradual. So you might be that much higher.
Even it's the stairs going up to this point,
Well, you
and then from this point going down to the deck. That's
right. I mean, you could even start here.
Yeah.
But basically, you have to go up to get to here, and then you start because you're bringing the whole. That means you have to wrap more steps here, which you could easily do by. I mean, I think you should continue that curve.
Yeah, that's.
All right.
On the northeast side of the house, is the retaining wall there so that you could have windows on that side of the house?
This side, yeah. Actually, this side, yeah.
Is that why you have the retaining wall there?
Yeah, because this slope going 2 to 1 from the wall to the.
So if that wall was eliminated or those terraces were added, as Board Member Aliano suggests, those windows would have to be eliminated. Is that correct?
No, we're going to keep this window because
It's basically right here, but I think
this window.
right, this one, and then there's a little opening here.
This opening is okay. We can close this one. This one
Well,
is.
that looks nice. I would even try to add some kind of curvature like you did here. That could be nice if it were.
Okay.
But I think what the question is, if you bring the slope to the wall, you're going to lose that window.
Yeah,
problem.
that's another issue because this one is the second light I have for this area because I don't have any access to do this one. So actually we have this and this
Well,
window.
you can raise that. Look at that. I mean, your head height is very low.
You can just.
I mean, that's your. You can make a high window here. I think you can solve it.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's gonna be there. We're gonna keep the window.
Yeah, and you don't need that retaining wall for fire access of any kind.
No, for fire access, I have fire access from this
On
side.
the other side.
Yeah, the other.
Okay, so you can modify the retaining walls and the grading on that side as Board Member Aliano is suggesting.
Okay.
Thank you. So we'll close it back up, and maybe we can go through some of the...
I have one more comment.
Oh, go ahead.
In relative to what Mr. Aliano was talking about, the retaining walls, I think you could look at, or have your architect, your landscape architect, look at the planting plan, because the types and locations of plantings are all in rows and accentuate the look of the height of those retaining walls, because everything is rigid and in lines, and it graduates up. So if you have a 10-foot wall, you've just got a straight line of low plantings. So maybe the plantings could be adjusted so you have some height, so it would help screen that wall. Even though you have vines on the tall walls, it's still going to come across as a flat face. So I would have him look at that and maybe soften the planting all around the whole perimeter there.
You know, I just noticed something on your plan. I'm not sure if it's noticeable. That's not your trash area, is it? Is this your trash area here?
Yeah, it is.
Well, there's 3 bins right there.
Yeah, it's
I
not
think-
visible from the street.
Yeah, but to have, can you have a lot of, can you raise that and put these underneath? In other words, extend that wall and put like little doors or something.
Sure.
Because I don't know that.
This one is the... Okay. Actually, this one, it's not visible, but
That's
we
not bad
can...
to have trash right at the
Yeah,
entrance,
we can just...
kinda-
This is open.
I think
mean,
you should
this is
cover
the
it.
same level with the...
Right, but what I'm saying is raise this planter
Yeah.
and put these, and maybe run another line here.
That's another
And
issue.
put the,
Yeah.
put the trash underneath
Yeah.
the lid, and then put some doors on it to match
that's
your
another-
garage door. Because even when you come out of the house, you're going to be looking right on top of the trash.
Yeah,
can.
yeah, that's...
It's going to be a nice fragrance,
okay,
too.
that's good.
I don't know, I wouldn't do that.
Okay, let's go through the comments that we have.
Window details on cut sheet need to be provided. Stairs to have decorative railings to be proposed. Steel trowel, smooth stucco to be proposed. Then there were a list of the details Mr. Insua mentioned to make sure that is going to be there. Paint the wood trim. The trim need to be wood and painted. Also the beam. True divided lights. High quality windows. And terrace comments that Mr. Aliano made. Terrace the retaining wall with the slope of the site wherever possible, and round up the angled retaining walls to make them appear more part of the landscaping. At the rear, raise the level of the floor for less excavation. Cover the taller retaining wall at the rear by planting in front of it. Raise the stair at the side. Protect all trees and where appropriate, relocate them. Planting layout should be modified to hide retaining walls. Raise the planter on the front to cover the trash can.
I think we need a clarification on the planting. It's to save the 3 that are existing in that corner
Okay.
and relocate the 1 proposed in the rear.
Oh, I see.
So the existing mature trees are maintained, and the proposed sycamore tree is relocated so that it doesn't block the view of the neighbor's house. Now, if that sycamore tree was revised to be something else, would that be
That's fine.
okay? So that they have some flexibility
They
with
have other varieties that work fine, so...
okay, and you were not suggesting brick, but because I'm not sure that brick is used, but the decorative finish that's shown elsewhere on the house should be on the retaining walls. They're proposing the split-faced block for the retaining walls. I just wanted to get a feel if that's okay, or if the sense of the board is that that should be veneered with a more decorative finish.
The retaining walls have Boston ivy around all of them, so they would be covered with greenery, so I don't think that makes a...
Okay, so the block is okay, but for the face of the steps, and the side steps, you'd like that to be the decorative finish, not just concrete or concrete block. There was a comment, well, many comments by Board Member Aliano that I think Ms. Kiazand captured to make the retaining walls feel more organic, terrace them to reduce them where possible. One thing that we'd like clarification on is because, and perhaps because the retaining walls are block, they are stepped. Perhaps they're stepped so that there's fewer cut block. I'm just speculating on that. There was a suggestion for a continuous cap on the retaining walls, which would that also suggest that the walls be more serpentine at the top rather than stepped, or is there not a preference?
The idea was to eliminate the steps and connect all the points.
Okay, so that
cap that's kind of
so the top of the wall, rather than being stepped, should be more like a serpentine wall that follows the grade, which would require a lot of cut block.
Correct.
And that there would be a cap that's a different material.
Could be a precast.
Could be some kind of precast. And that also may mean that in some spots where I believe also the architect has stepped the wall to reduce the height as much as possible. So in order to get a continuous curve, in some areas it would be raised in order
You would fill, yeah. I mean,
you'd fill in those areas
you have to connect.
to essentially connect the dots. And that in some areas, to reduce the retaining wall, to terrace the grading on both sides so it's less of a bowl, essentially, that's carved out of the hill, to add steps at the front so that it reduces the retaining wall. Something that Ms. Gazin mentioned is to raise the level of the terrace behind, which I think in your conversation with the architect, you said that location of that terrace is okay because it matches with the finished floors, so it doesn't need to be raised. You were simply asking for more risers around at the front of the house so that at the side of the house the retaining wall can be reduced. Is that correct?
Basically raising the whole stair so that when you're in the patio in the back of the house, you are going up to the top of the slope and coming down the stair rather than continuing at the same. I think I'm sure you understood that. But basically the idea was that if the stair is here right now, you're raising the whole stair, which means you're starting the stair at a higher point.
A higher point at the back, or
Correct.
more risers at the front, at the front door?
You're going to add more risers.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, but both ends.
Right.
Okay.
You will raise basically the stair so that this retaining wall on the inside will be minimized.
Right.
And now when you're in the stair, your adjacent grade, instead of being up here,
Right.
it may be somewhere down here.
Okay.
But in order to do that, he has to, where's my...
He has to adjust all the
He has
risers.
to put a little stair in here that takes you back to that level, to the highest level. And I think he understands that. So
You have to go up to go
when you're in
down?
the patio, you're going up a stair to get you to the highest possible grade so that you can start your first landing at the highest possible grade, which allows you to bring that stair up. When you're on that stair, the grade differential is smaller and you have less walls and less everything.
There is a requirement by the building code for the fire ladder to be accessed at that point. I'm not sure this would interfere with that or not.
I think they could check that, but I don't think doing this or doing that, it shouldn't matter. I mean, you still have access to the patio. It's worth checking, but I think if they could do that, that would be great.
And you're also asking essentially for an enclosed trash area if the trash area remains in front?
Right, the trash area right now it's kind of, you can't really tell, but there's 3 little squares here. I suspect one is recyclable, one is trash, and one is trimming. So they're tucked in here. It's true, you probably won't see it, but the idea of being right there, and as you go up the stairs, you're going to be looking down into that. So my suggestion was this planting area, make it wider, all the way to the edge of where those bins are at. And if that can be raised, where it becomes a lid that's got planting in it, and you're tucking those bins underneath it, and you might even want to put some screen doors that match your garage door, so that all of that is kind of enclosed, and you're not looking down to the bins. And here you don't have, because the bins could be they could be messy.
So use the planter essentially to conceal the trash area as much as possible and create an enclosure around that.
Correct.
I did have just one more clarification on the windows because a cut sheet wasn't shown, but the architect is proposing wood windows. I think we had like a Pella type or equal, because high quality windows is a rather subjective statement. So if we say Pella quality windows, now often as projects proceed through construction, they may be, the architect and the applicant, the owner, says, well, we can't afford wood windows, what can we change? Are the wood windows here a requirement, a condition of approval? Could fiberglass windows be substituted for these wood windows? It's just a question. The architect isn't asking. We're asking as staff so that we can implement this and not come back to you.
I think we could apply the same thing that we do to all the projects where they sort of have a choice between a wood-clad aluminum window and a wood-clad fiberglass window. I mean, that's sort of in the series that we've always sort of asked for. And on their sections, they're kind of showing it recessed back in the stud, so that's also a requirement we could put in there as well.
Okay, so the recessed window, and that staff needs to see a detail prior to building permit issuance for the recess window. Also, they're proposing true divided lights. We don't see that often with insulated glazing, so we're suggesting that as long as the divided light is on the exterior of the glazing, that would be acceptable to the board, because that's typically acceptable to staff if that is a three-dimensional divided light at the exterior, whether or not it's a true divided light. And I just wanted to get clarification from the board on that.
Sounds good.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
I would definitely not downgrade to vinyl windows if
Okay.
they have to switch.
Vinyl windows will not be permitted on this house. We can include that in the conditions.
All right.
Okay, is there a motion for this project?
I would move to approve based on the comments.
Okay, is there a second?
I can second.
Okay, Board Member Palmer motion to approve with condition, and Board Member Aliano second. This is roll call. Board Member Aliano?
Yes.
Board Member Insua?
Yes.
Board Member Palmer?
Yes.
Chairman Yu?
Yes.
Motion passes by 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I can, so.
Thank you. Before we move on, he has to leave us. So, so
You're leaving
see
it.
you later, Ivan.
Can we take
Thank
a
you.
5-minute break?
You want to take a 5-minute?
Yeah.
Your sketches, can we give it to them?
Oh, the sketches? Oh.
Let's take a 5-minute. Please,
I gotta make a
Yeah, you're on.
I'll go. Okay. Welcome back. We'll go to the last case on our agenda. Thank you for so patiently waiting. And 1-PDR-2007-144-R1 or 1134 Berkeley Drive. You're up, Jalil. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, board members, the next project with the case number PDR 2007-144R, located at 1134 Berkeley Drive, was reviewed on April 3rd, 2008 by the board and was approved with one condition. The applicant is proposing a revision to the previously proposed recessed wood windows to flush-mounted nail-on metal-clad wood windows. No changes to the architectural style of the house is proposed. The previous approval included replacement of the existing aluminum windows as well as the new windows to be recessed wood window. The applicant is currently proposing to replace the recessed wood window with flush-mounted metal-clad wood windows for the entire house. As discussed at the previous DRB, recessed wood windows are important character of the house. And while staff feels that the metal-clad windows are not inappropriate for the house, the fact that it's flush-mounted windows cannot be supported by the staff. If there is any question with regard to this project, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for staff? No? Okay. Let's go to the cards. Maybe the architect would like to go first, or would you? Looks like Stephen Smith. Name and address, please.
Name is Stephen Smith, and I reside at 1134 Berkeley Drive. Before I begin, I want to there's only three here now, but may I just give each of you?
Thank you.
All right. Back in 2008, I got three proposals from.
You speak into the mic, please. Or just put it towards you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Back in 2008, I got three proposals from general contractors, and all three came back. All three looked at the same plans, and all three came back with the aluminum wood-clad windows. All three. So in talking with the window folks, I opted to go with the gelled wind. And as the one on your right is all wood. It's all wood. This one here is aluminum wood clad. It's, for me at least, it's very hard to tell the difference, which one is the aluminum wood, which one is the all wood. In addition, for the record, I happen to subscribe to This Old House magazine, and in it there's a full-page ad for the gelled wind aluminum wood clad windows. If you want to see it or not? I don't
No, we're okay. Thank you.
Good. Okay. I have spent approximately $50,000 on these windows and doors. In total, there's 33. 10 of the 33 have been installed. The other 23 are nestled in my garage. The first page of what I gave you is an email, actually, from a lady by the name of Juliette Arroyo. She used to be, from what I understand, a planner here in the city of of Glendale. She now has her own firm. I guess it's a historic resource consulting and environmental review company. I've kind of highlighted some of the things here. One is that something we all know, that it's a Spanish colonial revival. Another one I think we all know is that the aluminum replacement windows are not original to the house. I think we all knew that. But the number 6 here is the new windows proposed are more appropriate than the existing aluminum replacement windows since they have a profile, interest, and are casement in style. She has, in essence, no issue with the fact that they're flush. And if I may proceed on to the photos. Okay. This photo here is of a building in my neighborhood in Adams Hill, 1417 Columbia Drive. It was built a year after mine was built. Mine was built in 25. This was built in 26. These are flush up against the stucco. This next photo is also in my neighborhood, 1433 Columbia Drive. For the record, it was, this is not an old one, this was a new one. It was recently built in 07, and the reason I show this is because they're the aluminum clad windows, and they're flush up against the stucco. The other photos I think that you've seen are of my house, of the windows, some of the windows that have been installed.
Do we have those there?
These are it?
Yes, those are the ones. The existing ones, to be honest with you, the aluminum ones that are basically replacement windows, half of them are broke, and I, so what I have here clearly is superior. But this also I wanted to show, these two photos. This is of a house contiguous to my lot. It was built also in the same year mine was built. And on this photo here, which you can, I think, see, what she has done is she has replaced this, on this particular side of the building, she has replaced the window with a flush up against the stucco, whereas you can see clearly here the existing windows are recessed, okay? And the other side of the building, which is basically, you know, from my backyard, I can see that from my deck, all these new windows that were just installed, just very within the last few weeks, are flush up against the stucco. And again, built the same year that mine was built. A lot of photos here. Bear with me. Okay. So, now I think members know the benefits of having the aluminum clad windows versus the all wood, in that you don't really have to paint them. You don't have to deal with wood rot. You don't have to deal with termites. So the gelled wind windows are clearly, in my view anyway, they're a top drawer window. They're high end. So with that being said, I mean, I've spent a great deal of money on these windows, and Juliet Arroyo, who, you know, for the record, my intention is to, once the construction is done, to go through that process and try to get this structure designated as a historic building. But Juliet, you know, in her email, which I think you've read or could read, you know, she is actually, she says these are appropriate. And all I'm saying is, I know that this style typically has recessed windows, but not all of them do. Some of them do, and it just seems somewhat inappropriate, and there seems to be a disconnect if you guys wouldn't allow it that for me to have them when this building right next door, who was built same time mine was, you're allowing the flush. Not you guys, but the city is. So it just, I didn't mean to step on anyone's toes or do anything inappropriate. It's just, I feel then, and I feel now that what I have done is fine. And for the record, there's also one more photo. If I can find it. This one here. This is of the a sliding door from my kitchen, and it's flat out flush against the stucco. So not all of the windows and doors are recessed. Some are just like this one is flush up against the stucco. So all I'm asking for is some consistency here. The fact that I've spent the $50,000, I don't have that money to throw away, and I would appreciate folks would approve it.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
I have a question. On the existing ones, you're going to replace the existing ones.
Yes, sir.
But none of them are installed yet. On the existing ones.
Correct.
Because, see, when you look at that, they're slightly recessed. We all know that.
I'm not arguing with that.
But once you remove this, there is a way to get it back to the same condition if you put a new window there. It's these new ones. And how many of the new ones have been installed?
10.
10. Okay. I mean, it's... And you said you have about 30 windows.
33.
33.
So 23.
23 left.
Yes.
So those 23 left, there's still hope. And maybe I missed it, but you had originally proposed that you were going to do recessed windows, and now you're doing flush. Well, what's the reason?
Yeah, it's a good question. And talking with the folks where I ended up getting the windows, which was a place on San Fernando here.
Taylor Brothers.
No.
Is that the one? Stock Lumber.
Stock Lumber. I spoke with, I checked out a whole bunch of windows there, and I spoke with the person in charge of the manager of the windows. His name is Lou. And in speaking with him, he indicated that it would be best for it to be up flush because the probability of it getting leaks were a lot less than if you had recessed windows. A lot of the windows that I currently have there, these replacement all aluminum windows, have been replaced for a reason, and reasoning that I was told that was that the recessed, the way it was recessed with the stucco going up against it like it was, contributed to the wood rot. They kind of felt that it would be best to do the flush with.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Do you have any questions? Thank you.
And the walls are 6-inch or 4-inch? 4-inch.
Next card I have is for Ben Sturgill. Name and address, please.
My name is Ben Curtis Sturgill. My address is 314 East Broadway, Suite E, here in Glendale. And I'm a project architect. Just to recap some of the technical issues with the building. The building is about 80 years old. The current design of the stucco butting into the windows over 80 years ago may have been the way it was done, but unfortunately, through the years, the stucco was pulled away from all the window sills and jambs, which created water leakage problems. It was evident on almost all the windows that someone had went by or through time and tried to silicone this gap between, especially at the sill. So the technology of waterproofing then, and also the concept today of recessing them back, is a challenge from a waterproofing point of view. Speaking with the window manufacturer, and they're highly recommending not doing it because of just that issue of waterproofing difficulty of making it a watertight installation. Being an aluminum clad versus wood, I think they're a close representation of each other, and I don't see really a problem on either one from a quality point of view. Geldwin, this line, Premium Collection, is actually, they bought a window manufacturer called Posey, and Posey is now part of the Gen 1 line. So it's a good quality wood window, aluminum clad, very high quality. The only comment I have is whatever we want to do on this, if we're going to allow the flush stucco, is I would like to see a sill, something that would prevent the water from actually shutting off at the bottom to prevent any additional damage or future damage for it. I think that's crucial from a waterproofing standpoint.
If you recess them.
If we recess them or flush, I still would like a sill extending over the stucco.
Yeah,
and I'm proposing on a detail of doing that to provide a sill to do that.
But these windows, the way they're engineered, because they're flush, you don't really have a ledge for water. Everything is shedding downward. So by putting a sill, I just think you got to decide whether you're going to recess them or flush them. If you flush them,
they do offer those with the extended products.
Well, the other thing is if you did sell it, it would be more representation of a historical window or window of the period, which would give us a little bit more in keeping with the style of the architecture of the building.
But you apply a sill, you snap on, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and you can actually, on these kinds of windows, you could actually do a trim if you wanted to, which I don't think will be appropriate here.
Yeah, we could do a 4 or 6 inch trim around it.
No, well, all these new windows, they come with a snap-on piece that you can actually show that they're actually bumping out of the plaster. Because they're modern windows, even though they look old. These are modern windows.
Yeah.
It's a modern technology. I mean, they would never have built a window like this in those days. They would have been a wooden jamb, and everything would have been recessed, and you would have had a plaster stop, made out of wood, that keys into the plaster, and that's how they would get the recess. In fact, you get the little trim of wood that you paint. And that's how, this is kind of the same concept, except that the window sash is now flush with the frame, where before the sash was always set in.
Well, that's right.
And they do that because they don't want to have a sill, otherwise water gets underneath. So, but I think, I don't know if we want to leave this, but I have some things to mention.
Why don't you save it until
I think there is a way to do this and still have the gentleman keep the windows and.
The details of the windows are both shown, the previous and the current, if you'd like to read them.
I'm not going to dispute. I think, that obviously they wanted to do that, but the thing, they only have 4 inches. And let me just save that for deliberation, because I think...
Do you have any suggestions on how we can maybe remedy this? It's just because, you proposed one type, and that's why we have you here, and I hope you understand that we have you here. That's the reason why. It's not because we want to go after you and make you pay more for your windows and, that kind of stuff. And so... Do you have anything that you could suggest, and maybe that would satisfy both, that we could use these windows, but sort of use them in a way that we would still get the intent of what you were intending to do originally?
Well, I'd be interested in hearing what Mr. Aliano
has, his comments and his suggestions. I mean, we definitely could be open to certain things to satisfy the board. We could definitely do, there's always a way to do something. Now, is it the most cost-effective way, or is it cost-prohibitive? Is the question. And so, if the board would, would like to, suggest things how we could do this, we definitely would entertain that and possibly take that on as a condition of approval.
Can I ask you one more question? Because I'll probably get right into it. But the existing windows obviously have a certain opening already there. Are the new windows ordered to fit the exact opening? Are the windows smaller?
They're for the exact opening.
Right. Okay. Makes things a little more difficult. But I have two options for you. We'll see if you like them.
Okay. Do we have any other questions for him? We're okay? Thank you. Then let's close the session and we'll let you go.
I mean, I think I understand the problem. These kinds of windows, they use all the time. I've used them myself. And they're great windows. They have a flange. They're nail-ons, basically, with a plastic flange to keep the water from getting behind it. So they're engineered so you nail it right on the plywood, and then you plaster to it. And you peel and stick and whatever you need to do, and water won't get in. But there is a way to do the same window and do a recess, because I've done it. And there's also another way, which I know how to do, which I've never done, but I think that could be maybe a possibility for you. Let me see, what can I draw? Can I borrow you a thick pen somewhere?
What are you looking for?
A thick marker.
Oh, I don't have one.
I can get
Somebody
it.
can see it from there. Oh, you're going to give me that? Go ahead. Yeah.
I can get the marker.
All right, I'll just go here. Maybe a little higher. Let's do it.
You're not going to have them routed up the opening, are you?
No, what I'm suggesting is pretty straightforward. Okay. I think, having heard your answer to my question about the existing openings not being wider than the window, the detail that I was referring to, if you could do it, I don't know if you could even do it in the new construction because everything is already framed. But let's, for discussion, option one, which would be ideal, is if you have, 4-inch stud. There is a way to get these windows recessed. What you do is have blocking here, and you put the flange here, and the window actually sits right there. And then the plaster actually returns. You get about an inch corner there. Looks very nice. I've done it on my own projects. It works. And there's no issue with waterproofing because when you peel and stick all the way around, there's no difference if this is here or here because it's the same thing. The only issue is at the sill. You have to take extra care. You either put a sill or you slope it. Now, it doesn't sound like this is an option for you because everything is already framed, the window's already sized. So what I'm suggesting is for the existing windows, you do the same thing that you have done with the new construction. But I don't know if you have the option of removing any plaster. I don't know if that's actually an option for the existing. But another way to do this is if you have, this is what, you can't, you have a darker one? Yeah, this is, yeah, that's it. I mean, I don't know if you can you see that detail from there? Okay. I mean, that's the ideal. If you had 6-inch studs, then you get maybe 2-inch reveal, which would be perfect. But another option is this, which requires probably a little more work. But you have basically a flange here, and your window is sitting here. And this is your plywood. Actually, your plywood is actually here, right? Plywood is there. And then your plaster is going to go here. Correct? That's what you have now. What I would suggest, even to get a reveal, is it will require furring. It will require enough plywood, but just getting some foam board, a 4x8 foam board, fiber board, so that it's not heavy. Basically resheathing everything, and you will resheath to here. And now you can do the plaster here, and you can bullnose this. So, which is actually quite typical of this style. You have a little bit of a return into the jamb. So so that now you have a little shadow line and the frame is set back. But this material, you have to have another thickness there to bring you almost flush with the frame right now, that then you can do a bull nose. And these are basically just plaster screeds that you can get off the shelves. But I think that's the one that would work.
So that would require feathering the plaster.
That would require, the new construction to have another layer of sheathing of not structural, but just fiberboard that you can get a lot cheaper than plywood, obviously. You could even do
The whole face would be sheet.
the whole surface, otherwise you get bumps.
Right.
The existing, we require doing another layer of plaster or removing what's there to do that. If the windows were not already ordered, I guess they are ordered, you have them in stock. The other option is to try to get the opening to be a little bigger, which require, the head is already in place, which I don't think is an option. If there's a way, because all you need is a stud thickness inward in both directions. Even if it means that maybe the head has to come down a little, maybe you fix the sill and the jambs, take one stud and just, basically removing that first stud, the one that's supporting the header, and you have to somehow get another connection on the header, because I don't think the city will allow you not to have a stud underneath it. But somehow you have to enlarge the opening so you can do that detail one, which I think will probably be more costly than trying to resheathe the whole building. But you do have existing walls that you're not going to replaster, right? How much of the existing plaster is remaining?
Let's open it back up. Go ahead.
Ben Curtis Sturgill. Over 90%. We were just going to patch around the windows.
Yeah. I wish you hadn't listened to that guy at Stock. I mean, he's not incorrect, but there is a way to do what he's fearing. Okay. That's all I have to offer. I don't know what else to do.
Thank you. Let's close it back.
Well, I don't think we can speak to the way the neighbors' windows are, but I do know that houses on two houses to the right both have the recessed windows, and it looks nice. And I think this is a unique situation in that the house is right on the street. I mean, it's right there where other ones are back further, so it stands out, and you have more windows than anybody else. So I think it's important that these are recessed, and I don't know if it would work to state that whatever method to recess all the ones seen from the street and allow the flush ones that are not seen from the street, which is like meeting them halfway. But anyway, I feel strongly that they need to be recessed. That's the way they were approved, and I think it really enhances the house.
Okay, thank you. This is a tough one. I think we're basically left with two ways we can go with this. We can approve sort of a solution that Mr. Aliano drafted up for us. Or do we ask ourselves, I know that we approved this detail, and that's maybe what they intended to do, but they ended up with something different. And if we were to look at it from the original submitter, would we have approved something without recessing it? And kind of just look at it in that sense. I mean, is it a project in which, the style is a style, and as he brought in exhibits that show that the style not necessarily is reliant on all being recessed windows. I mean, it's a feature, but is that something that strongly pushes it so that this has to have recessed windows? And so would we have even considered not having recessed windows on this project if it was brought in with maybe not this detail, but maybe the detail that they're proposing now? And so I guess I haven't decided either. I don't know. I'm just kind of throwing it out as an option of the way of looking at it. No, you're right. I'm familiar with that line. The premium has the two lines, the EX and the whatever the other one happens to be. They're nice windows, and it's just that we're still stuck on this because that's what was provided to us. And so we need to kind of abide by that because that's the sort of the agreement that we came upon, you know. And so to modify that, and that's what we're here for. And as we're considering it, we understand you spend a lot of money on it, and I think financially we can all feel for you and get that kind of feel in our gut that kind of says, oh man, but we kind of have to judge it apart from that in one sense, not entirely, but we have to kind of step back from that. And so I wanted to kind of open it up and see how you would feel about. What do you think if this did come to us separately? Would we have recommended?
I mean, I just had an idea.
Sure.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm done.
You know, the king stud right now that's supporting the header. Okay. Is there a way to notch that? Just enough so that maybe whatever it takes to bring the window back so that you get that extra inch, you'll be able to return the plaster in. Basically doing exactly what
That's what I thought you were going with. That was routing it out.
I've done that too. I have done that where we actually carved but then you got to be careful with the header. You don't want to weaken the king stud. This guy has to still be able to support a header. And a way to do that is you go ahead and reinforce the connection with mechanical connectors rather than having a stud underneath it, because you will still have support underneath. But if you take this stud here, the opening's already sized. You can't make it any bigger. You can't make it any smaller. You can go in there and basically just chisel out this piece right here, because now you can bring the flange back, and now you're no different than building from scratch. You'll be able to, if you can do that, you'll be able to do that with all the windows, even the existing. The challenge is that you have to make sure that at the header, when you're taking maybe, this is a 4-inch stud, you're 3.5, you're taking an inch off that stud, you're reducing that stud to 2.5, 2 5/8. But if this is how old is this building?
80 years.
Yeah, so this is probably a true 4-inch stud. This is not 3.5. So you're taking an inch off, you have a 3-inch stud. You're still only a half an inch or 5/8 less than a standard stud today. I think you would probably, what I would do, I would try doing that, and then somehow at the header, put in Simpson, Simpson header brackets. You know, the ones that go like this. This is your header. That's your king stud. And that way, you're basically supporting your header a little bit better. That to me, I think, is something that's workable. It requires removing the tent that you already have there, and you still have to remove the existing windows. It just requires somebody going in there with a power tool and just remove about an inch or so of that existing king stud, and then reinforce the headers. I would say that might be less expensive than replastering the whole house and resheeting the whole house. Certainly less expensive than reframing the openings, because you're not reframing anything. All you're doing is removing a piece of material just enough to push these windows in, because once you push that flange in even an inch, you're gaining an inch on the outside, which would be enough to return the plaster to either do a bullnose or a 90-degree. I would suggest a bullnose, because with these kinds, this style I think will look really nice with a bullnose return.
And an inch is sufficient.
An inch, it's not. We probably would have never gotten any more than that anyways, because if we had known that it was a 4-inch stud, it's impossible to put these windows on a 4-inch stud and have more than an inch reveal. It's just
okay, so we just wanted to clarify that
I'd be okay with an inch.
But a half an inch,
no, I would
not
say at
good.
least an inch.
At least an inch recess is
If you
important.
push the window in an inch, you'll gain an inch on the outside automatically. And that looks nice. I have the same detail actually on the interior windows of my house. They all do that. And it's from 1934. So it's something that was definitely used back then. And it's something that I think I would be okay with, given the restraints and the fact that you're already pretty far along. I would say this is a pretty good compromise. And anyway,
let me open it back up if you come up. And maybe you can just, your name again, but...
Ben Sturgill.
If you could just let us know if any of these ideas would be something that you would consider. Well, I think we can
work with something. If the building department will allow us to cut, about an
Probably need a structural detail.
Yeah. I think that would work.
It's a header thing. If the header can be engineered where you can put a bracket Because
think
normally
yeah.
the stud is what's sold in the, and they want that. The city will always want something, a ledge for the, they will not want just a, a bracket.
Hardware, right.
Although it's done. I mean, if it's engineered, there's nothing wrong with it. But I think you could probably do it off-the-shelf Simpson connections.
Just some 835s in the
Yeah.
corner would be fine. Yeah,
Well,
I think that'll fly.
You have to have your engineer look at it, but I think, for me, if you just remove an inch of that king stud, it should be enough to be able
So,
to...
if I understand right, if we could accomplish 1-inch bullnose,
Yeah.
however way we can do that, that would be acceptable.
But it would have to be coplanar with I mean, we don't want a bull nose and then you're creating a border around the
Yeah,
window.
no.
It has to be, the plaster has to be all flush and then it bull
nose
noses
in.
into the window, yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be a compromise that we could possibly work out in some means, either furring out the addition to accomplish that or recessing the existing windows back. But we could definitely do that. A concept of doing the flush around that's not visible from the public way, if that would be acceptable, we would like to do that.
I would just go all the way. Come on, it's a nice, if you want to put it on the historic register, I mean, it's a nice house. I wouldn't do that. Because once you get started, you might as well make it complete.
Okay.
I would suggest that. So I think the intent then is, that the design intent here is that whatever means they need to use to give us at least a 1-inch bull nose, or even, I think in this house a bull nose will look better than a straight corner because it will be so minimal that it won't be so obvious. But with a bull nose you get a deeper shadow, especially when the sun hits it. You get a much nicer shadow and it creates a deeper reveal. All right.
So a minimum of 1-inch recess is required and recommended to have a bull nose around the entire window for all the windows.
Right, and they could have a sill if they want to. I think the sill will be fine. So in other words, the bull nose, and then a nice sill at the
Okay,
bottom.
the sill, I think, was not an original feature of the house, so so that would change the look of the house. So I guess the question is, that's one thing that we had talked about, and we thought because these are punched windows that are plaster around, the sill really is a different character of the house. So if the architect would like to do the sill, we'd like some real specifics, a very specific recommendation of what's acceptable, and if the intent is to maintain its historic integrity and get an opinion from the person who evaluated the house and or our historic preservation planner, we can do that and not rely necessarily on the board for that piece of it, because I personally don't know what the answer is. We just want to be cautious on this.
Yeah, I mean, looking at that, I think you're correct. I mean, there's no sill language there. I suggested the sill just to avoid the waterproofing issue, but because it's a bull nose, water's not going to sit there. You just got to make sure that there's enough of that sort of peel and stick waterproofing that keeps the water away.
Well, I was just, my client has decided not to do a sill. He'd prefer not to do the sill.
Okay. So do bull nose all the way around. It'll be fine. Just get the waterproofing in there and you should be fine.
Thank you.
Just in case, would the board like us to write an option for the sill or no sill? Okay, that makes it easier for us. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you for coming up with that idea.
I think it's going to look good.
We have the write-up.
I do. Cut a piece off the stud and strengthen the king-size header to provide 1-inch recessed bullnose. The plaster has to be flush, terminating to a bullnose at the opening.
I think we could take out the structure part of it. They'll deal with that in building and planning, building and safety. So we just
part?
put that to adjust the existing or the stud.
To cut a piece off the stud to provide the bullnose detail?
To be able to recess a minimum 1-inch
basically recessed the flange 1 inch. The goal is that the frame of the window should be out of plane from the plaster a minimum 1 inch, and then return it with a bowl nose. I think you know.
Throughout the entire house?
Entire house, yeah.
Okay.
And that means that, just to be clear and state it, the windows that are proposed are acceptable, and that those windows could be used, but whatever windows have been installed would also need to be reinstalled so that there's a recess on all of the windows.
And it's from the frame, not the sash. It's the frame 1 inch out of plane from the plaster surface.
The frame of the window rather than the sash of the window.
The sash is almost flush, but the frame is slightly out.
Right. Well, the furthest point sticking out of the window right now would line up with the stucco. So by pushing the window back an inch, we're going to get that inch off.
Yeah, so it's not the sash or the attachment part of the nail-on that's recessed, because that would typically be behind the plaster. It's the outermost portion of the window in the profile needs to be recessed an inch.
Yeah, just like the...
Right.
They know.
And we have the sketches, so... and thanks to the applicant for working with us on this, because it's a challenging one to solve.
That's a window frame.
Okay. Do we want to make a motion on...
That's the plaster. But I'm sure you know it, yeah.
He knows, yeah.
I don't have to explain it.
Is there a motion?
I'll move for approval with the requirements stated.
I'll second that.
So the motion to approve with condition by Mr. Aliano, a second by Ms. Palmer. This is roll call. Board Member Aliano?
Yes.
Board Member Palmer?
Yes.
Chairman Yu?
Yes.
Motion passes by 3-0. Thank you.
Thank you for waiting around.
All right, actually, the next thing on the agenda is the approval of minutes, and we don't have enough people now
Because
to
you
approve
left.
11th minutes. So, and July 9th minutes, we're not ready.
Okay.
Okay?
We'll wait.
For adjournment?
All right.
Adjourned.
Great, thank you.
Can I leave these, you guys?